Each year, the Bob Hoover Wingman Award is presented to an individual or organization that has provided support to the airshow community in the same way a combat pilot might expect from his wingman. In layman's terms, a wingman being somebody who is always there and always has your back. The award is named after Bob Hoover, arguably the greatest pilot who ever lived, and a man who watched after the greater good of our business for more than half a century. All of the past recipients of the award that bears Bob Hoover's name have distinguished themselves by providing different kinds of extraordinary support to our airshow community. There was a lot of talk during the convention this week about the ability of airshows to do what few other events are able to do, to inspire. This year's Wingman Award is a story about a group of our colleagues who continued to inspire behind the scenes, away from the public eye, in the best traditions of our members through selfless acts of generosity, loyalty, and comfort when these attributes of our profession were needed most. In his book, Sailing True North, Admiral James Stavridis, United States Navy four-star admiral and former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, said this: "The voyage of character is the most important journey any of us makes. In the small hours of the morning, as we think about our lives, can we honestly say our voyage matters? Tonight we can say yes, as we honor the actions of a handful of our colleagues in the minutes, hours, and days following the loss of Chris Darnell. Our business by nature is inherently dangerous. Our performers routinely push themselves and their machines to places which seem to defy the laws of gravity and physics. The industry's safety record has improved dramatically over the last 2 decades, but even with strict adherence to safety buffers and protocols, inevitably, tragedy visits our community more often than any of us would like. And this year was an especially difficult one. On July 2nd at the Battle Creek Air Show and Balloon Festival, ICAS member Chris Darnell was killed when the Shockwave jet truck he was driving suffered a catastrophic mechanical failure, veered off the runway, and tumbled several times. In the hours, days, and weeks that followed, the airshow community was in shock about the loss of one of our industry's most popular performers. In some ways, it still is. This week's convention has provided some measure of closure for many, but Chris's death is still very much on the minds of his family and friends. But as horrific as that crash was, and as difficult it is not to have Chris with us this week, the aftermath of the crash reminded us of a fundamental truth of our business, that in the best and worst of times, our airshow community is a family. And the strength of our family was on full display that horrible weekend. Chris's wife, Brooke, and their 2 teenage daughters, Reese and Taylor, were at the show that day, and it's hard to even imagine what they must have been going through in the moments after the accident. But airshow performer Ken Rieder and his wife, Kristi, recognized right away that the Darnell family needed help and went to them immediately to take the teenagers away from the crash scene and to comfort Brooke. Ken and Christy stayed with Brooke and the kids for many hours that day, helping to ensure they had the privacy they needed and providing updates as they became available. As I explained the extraordinary way in which our airshow community helped the Darnell family through this unimaginable crisis, I'd ask, as I mention your name, that you join me here on stage. Matt and Kristi Younkin also jumped in to help. Thank you. Recognizing that Chris's parents, Neil and Marilyn, would want to be in Battle Creek, Matt made arrangements to have them picked up in Missouri and flown back to Michigan within a few hours. Kristi also helped look after the girls that day. Kyle and Liz Franklin, and again, please come up, Nathan and Kelley Hammond were also there during those difficult early hours, focusing their attention on doing what was necessary to help Brooke and her daughters. Meanwhile, Battle Creek Air Show Director Barb Haluzska and her team were working closely with airport, police, and state officials to help the Darnell family with privacy and support. Barb, please join us up here. On Sunday, the Thunderbirds dedicated their performance to Chris, and Thunderbird team lead, Lieutenant Colonel Justin Elliott, spoke eloquently to a small group of performers and airshow volunteers about Chris and in particular his service to the country as an airshow performer on the day after the accident. Astro, please join us up on stage, and let's take a look at that moment.
You know, we in the military are fortunate. We hear it all the time. When people run up to us in the military, they typically say something like, "Thank you for your service." The service to me does not mean a job. It doesn't mean a uniform. It doesn't mean a role that you play. Service to me is tackling what you're passionate about and serving in the name of something bigger than yourself. And I think you all do that every time you perform and put your lives on the line for the American public to create that beacon of excellence in the name of service to something bigger than yourselves. And I know that Chris did that. And his family's been doing it for more than 20 years. And that should give us all pause, make us all appreciate the business we're in, the danger of the business we're in, but the purpose and the meaning behind the business that we're in.
Isn't it true that it's often when things are at their worst that the best in our airshow family comes out? Former Viper pilot demo John Rain Waters and his wife Anna organized a GoFundMe effort to raise money to support Brooke and her family. David White reached out to Brooke after the accident and developed a wearable graphic to help commemorate Chris's life. Kellie Hudson was also in touch with Brooke several times during those first few days to check on her and do what she could to help Brooke manage. Dave Olmstead organized Chris's memorial service with Joe Shetterly, Brian Correll, and Ken Rieder flying the missing man formation. If I said your name and you're not on stage yet, once again, please come up. At perhaps the most difficult time in the lives of the Darnell family, the airshow community stepped up. They came to the assistance of Brooke, Taylor, Reese, Marilyn, and Neil, in small ways and in big ways, to ease some of the pain or make the tragedy just a little easier to get through, just like family members do for one another. For what they did last summer, the ICAS members on stage right now, and several others who are not here tonight, are, collectively, the 2022 recipients of the Bob Hoover Wingman Award. For the role that they played in helping during this especially difficult time, but also as representatives of all the other airshow professionals who have acted and will continue to act similarly during challenging, tragic, and difficult circumstances, and who exemplify the best ideals of our profession. Join me in congratulating our 2022 Bob Hoover Wingman Award recipients.
While the awards are being handed out, there was something that went on with the Thunderbirds that maybe we didn't get to see on that oftentimes when the Thunderbirds want to honor someone, that person's name is done with a special stencil of letters inside the nose gear of the number 1 aircraft, inside that nose gear door. They usually are able to do that because they are in preparation for it. They get it done in Nellis, at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. There was not time to do that, so the enlisted personnel found letters on other airplanes and put Chris Darnell's name letter by letter on the inside of that nose gear door. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for the 2022 Wingman Award winners.
We just want to express our appreciation for all the, it's just been unbelievable. The accident was so unexpected. Chris had just turned 40 and he was living the dream. So thank you very much.
There were some folks we left out. Marilyn just asked that we mention another group of people, please.
The Blue Angels have just been remarkable to Neil and I. They came to us and showed us so much love. And Neil and I did the Pensacola show just a few weeks ago. Neil performed and they dedicated their entire show that weekend to Chris Darnell. And I asked them why, and they said, because he's our brother. So please, the Blue Angels were very special to us too.
Thank you. So glad to meet you.